Hello.
Hey,
Happy Friday.
happy Friday. What's up?
Not much. Just waiting to get the tea from you.
Hmm. What about a possum fight club?
There's a possum fight club.
Uh-huh.
I'm all about that.
All right, let's watch it.
Let's do it.
Oh, I lost it. Hold on, let me try again.
That was a good video.
All right, I found it.
Okay, let's try it again.
All right. My first tech fail of the day.
The night is young.
So it says, I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but West Memphis brothers busted after police shut down an illegal possum fight club. And yes, people paid to watch. Here they are.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah, they look like they'd have a possum fight club. Yeah,
Yeah, they look like they would be hanging out with some opossum.
looks like a possum got the one.
Yeah, right. Was he fighting the possum, or was it the possum fighting each other?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Do you think they recorded this?
Yeah, I thought there was going to be video of it. I don't really want to see animals fighting, but
No.
I'll just watch that. I don't really want to watch the guy fight a possum either, unless the
No.
possum's winning.
Yeah, I definitely want to see like the possum kick that guy's ass.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so I got another one I found on X. Let me cue it up.
Okay.
Make sure there's no music. Oh, hold on, it's thinking.
We'll get the copyright strike.
All right. I got it. Here we go.
Let's do it. Ooh. Oh.
What do you want from this English person? I wasn't even here when she was working. Where were you? I was working somewhere else. Oh. Can we help you? I'm not going to serve you.
Why do you think he doesn't want to serve him? Just because he's weird?
I mean, I think he's causing trouble, it looks like.
Well, now he
Get the
is.
fuck away from me. You better not do that shit again. Are you going to leave? I ate that shit for breakfast. Good for you, big man.
Oh.
That's bear spray.
Oh. That can't be fun. Oh.
Can I get cops to 2733 18th Avenue?
Please hang up and dial 911. Who did he call?
Maybe you call. Maybe you call. They'll do that if you call the police station. They won't actually.
Need to go to the hospital.
Right by the Flips Pancake House. Well, that was fun. Getting sprayed in the face with bear spray. That's got to be uncomfortable at the very least.
All right, so the next one is body camera of police fatally shooting a chainsaw-wielding man inside a senior living facility.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's hardcore. Oh, there it is.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No, it took a while to show up on the screen.
I don't really need to see him driving.
This one right here? Yeah, with a chainsaw. Okay.
Whoa. It's a nice looking place.
Yeah, I was surprised at how nice it is inside. I was like, you know, it's kind of place I'd want my mom to live if she had to live in a place like, you know, a senior care facility.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on with this guy?
I don't know. He came in here.
Hey, can you hold this door open?
Yes,
More police
please.
are coming.
1393.
There's other people just walking around like nothing's going on.
They don't know.
Hold that door open. Hold that door open. 10-4.
He is the police.
Right.
He went that way.
Oh, they know what's going on.
Unit's incoming. Can you step it up?
Yeah, but why is she sitting out in the hallway? I'd like be hiding in my room.
I mean, what do they gotta do?
Hey! Hey, drop the taser. Drop the taser. Or drop it. Drop it. On the ground.
What's he doing?
Get back. Hey, drop. Hey,
What's this guy doing?
hey. Step it up. Hey, drop the chainsaw. One at taser point.
Oh my God.
Hey, drop it.
Oh, he's not going to drop it.
You gotta tase that guy.
I got one at taser point. Step it up.
It didn't start. He's like, oh,
We'll be in the
shit.
front lobby. Drop it.
Bro, hit him with the taser. What's wrong with you?
Get him.
He's walking around. He's gonna kill somebody.
Step it up.
I needed him, not my lady. Where is she?
Step it up.
He can't get it
Drop
started.
it.
I just want my wife, man. I just want I don't want to.
Well, there you go.
Taser up, Taser. Hey.
Taser didn't work. That guy's fired up.
Hey, right here. He's right here.
Oh, he said he was looking for his wife. He looks way too young to have a wife living there.
Dude's probably out of his mind.
There's people just like sitting in there eating lunch.
I mean, where are they gonna go? Whoa.
Shots fired.
There's somebody in a wheelchair right there. Why are you just shooting wildly?
They're really reckless. That was really reckless.
Look at that person just sitting there.
I mean, I think shots were necessary at that point, but they really didn't do a very good job of putting him down quickly.
I don't disagree with you. I just think like just shooting wildly into the air in the direction of the danger with all these elderly people there that are fairly immobile. They can't run away.
Yeah, no, they can't do anything.
That's what was shocking to me. It seemed really reckless.
Did he have to wait for him to start the chainsaw to tase him? Like,
I have no idea.
Like, because he was.
I think maybe he thought he was just like bluffing about it at first.
He's still in a private residence. That's a private property. He's still on private property with a random chainsaw. That's insane. Where was that? Do you know?
All right. So now I've got a story about somebody getting bit by a rattlesnake.
Oh, I thought it was a good one.
Yep. Oh, I have to actually show it to you.
Okay.
Oops. Here we go.
Well, a day outdoors in Orville took a terrifying turn when a man was bitten by a rattlesnake. Action News Now reporter Emilio Del Carpio joins us live from Upper Park in Chico, where snakes are frequently sighted. So, Emilio, the man, he was visiting family when this happened.
That's right, Haley. Christopher Howard
tells me it was a western rattlesnake to be exact. Chris was at his parents' home right next to Lake Oroville, wrapping things up, getting ready to head back to Idaho, where he lives now, when Chris and his wife Jenny noticed a leaking water line in Chris's mom's garden. Chris steps out to check the line in an attempt to fix it, and that's when he says he thought he stepped on a star thistle, those sharp, thorn invasive plants. In reality, Chris had just been bit by a rattlesnake. He yelled, ouch, looked down and saw the snake coiling by his feet. That's when the snake struck and bit him again, even deeper. Chris was immediately rushed to the Oroville Hospital emergency room. He was administered 6 vials of anti-venom right away, but ended up receiving 12 more vials the same night.
I just went up the hill to my parents' house, went inside, told them I got bit by a rattlesnake, and my kids started freaking.
I think he has like a blood clotting disorder to begin with or something, so that's why he needed excessive.
Dad's gonna die.
Yeah, he came running in saying, like, I just got bit by a rattlesnake, and
she thought I was joking.
I thought I was kidding at first, because we had talked a lot about snakes, and because they do see them sometimes on their property.
3 days after that bite, Chris's thigh began swelling to the point he says it was bigger than his rear end. Doctors began lab work that resulted in Chris being pumped full of plasma and platelets, along with 6 more vials of anti-venom. According to Chris, 5 days after the bite, he had used all of the Oroville Hospital's anti-venom and platelets. He says they were out of it completely. The Oroville nighttime doctor, in search of a hospital with a fully equipped toxicology and hematology team, got the go-ahead from Stanford and was helicoptered there at 6 in the morning. Chris was administered over 40 vials of different kinds of anti-venom. 11 days after the bite, he was discharged from the hospital and is in good spirits with his family back in Idaho. Reporting live from Chico, Emilio del Carpio.
Why do you think he had to have different kinds of anti-venom if they knew what kind of a snake it was?
I guess he wasn't responding to it, but he said they used all the anti-venom. Like, he used all of their anti-venom.
I think he used all of their anti-venom for that kind of snake. I'm sure it wasn't all of it. But speaking of snakes, I have another snake story for you.
Oh, wow. The snake stories are coming in.
I know. You know, I hate snakes.
Yeah, I know.
I do not like them, but they're in the news today. So
let's see this.
Breeding facility in China's southern province of Guangxi was destroyed by floodwaters from Typhoon Maysak. Hundreds of the snakes escaped. Social media vision shows floodwaters teeming with the displaced snakes, which local authorities say include venomous cobras as well as non-venomous breeds. And locals have been warned against trying to capture the snakes. One woman has already been bitten and killed, according to local media, and authorities are providing hospitals with extra anti-venom. Typhoon Maysak has pummeled large parts of China, Guangxi the hardest hit, with its biggest flood in recorded history. A reservoir wall collapsed, sending torrents of water throughout towns and villages. 500,000 people have been affected and dozens have been confirmed killed so far. So many more are still missing. Authorities are now just gaining access into some of those flood-affected areas. And the catastrophic weather is expected to continue in China over the coming days. Super Typhoon Barbie is tracking to hit southern eastern China on the weekend. So far, it's packing winds of up to 290 kilometers per hour. It's measuring about 1,000 kilometers in diameter, and residents in southeastern China have been told to brace for the worst.
It's hardcore. Yes. A lot of typhoon action.
Yeah. I guess maybe the typhoon will make the snakes go away.
No way. It made them come out.
The second one. You think?
Yeah. Dredges them up. It's the snake's time to shine.
So, speaking of China... All right, I got to bring this up. I saw this on X and I was like, oh, he's going to share all the secrets.
Secrets? I love a good secret.
这是怎么做到呢？好的，教学一下，刀是给伸缩的，放上去就可以了。现在呢，我这里呢 有一个红酒瓶，还有一个袋子。我把红酒瓶放到袋子里，然后施点魔法下去，可以瞬间消失不见了。好，消失不见，这又是怎么做到的呢？好的，教学一下。其实这个红酒瓶是软的，放到袋子里就好像消失不见了一样。好，接下来呢，我这里呢有一个钱包，钱包一打开呢就可以瞬间着火了。好，这又是怎么做到呢？正反两面都没问题。好的，教学一下。钱包中间是有一个隔层，打开这里，划一下就可以瞬间着火了。好的。再来呢，我这里呢有一个空空如也的袋子，我们施点魔法下去，它可以瞬间拿出来一个礼盒。一个礼盒不够用的话，我们再拿一个。好的，这又是怎么做到呢？好的，教学一下。其实这个礼盒是可以折叠的，我们把它折叠起来，然后就可以变成这个样子，然后放到袋子里，就好像消失不见了一样。好的，接下来呢，我这里有2种颜色不一样的珠子，将红色的珠子倒到绿色的珠子里，搅拌均匀，混合在一起，然后瞬间将它分开。好的，这又是怎么做到的呢？好的，教学一下。其实绿色的黏住的，它下不来，我们只需要把红色的珠子倒过去，倒过来就可以了。好的，接下来呢，我这里呢有一个可乐瓶，可乐摇晃一下可以瞬间变成2瓶，这又是怎么做到呢？正反两面都没问题。好的，教学一下。其实可乐这边只是半个，把它套进去，然后摇晃一下拿出来就可以了。好的，接下来呢，我这里呢有一条丝巾，我手里什么都没有。接下来将丝巾塞到我的手里，塞进去，可以瞬间的将它消失不见了。这又是怎么做到呢？好的，教学一下。其实我手里丝巾并没有消失，我手里戴了一个拇指套，将丝巾塞到拇指套里，然后就好像消失不见了一样。好的，接下来呢，我这里呢有一个红色的小球，将红色的小球放到这个盒子里，弹个响指，它可以瞬间变出一个蓝色的小球来。这又是怎么做到呢？好的，教学一下。其实那个红色的小球还藏在里面的暗层里，划过来啊，红色的小球藏在里面而已。好，接下来呢，我这里呢有一个普通的硬币，还有一个普通的玻璃杯，将硬币丢进去，然后拿出来，3、2、1，瞬间将它穿透。这又是怎么做到的呢？好的，教学一下。其实把硬币丢进去，拿出来之后，只是假拿，硬币滑落下来被我手拇指夹住了。接下来想要穿透的时候，把它滑落下来就可以了。好，接下来呢，我这里呢有一个空空如也的碗，我们施点魔法下去，它可以瞬间变成一碗香喷喷的米饭。这又是怎么做到呢？好的，教学一下。其实这个米饭是假的，只是道具我们搬过来就是一个空碗的形状，端过去就是一碗米饭的形状。好，接下来呢，我这里呢有一个完全打乱的魔方，还有一个盖子，我们盖进去，弹个响指，瞬间魔方瞬间完全复原了。这又是怎么做到呢？好的，教学一下。其实只有一个打乱的盖子，把它套在这个魔方上面，然后再把这个盖子拿开就可以了。好，接下来呢，我这里呢有一瓶可乐。好，可乐，我们一个套筒把它套进去，施点魔法下去，瞬间拿出来一朵花来，瞬间将这个可乐消失不见了。这又是怎么做到呢？好的，教学一下。其实这个可乐头部在这里，花是可以伸缩的。接下来这个它的身体部分是空心的，把它套进去就好像消失不见了一样。好，接下来呢，我这里呢有10块钱，10块钱不够用怎么办？瞬间变成20块。接下来可以瞬间变成50块，好，50块不够用，瞬间可以变成100块，正反两面都没问题。这又是怎么做到呢？好的，教学一下。其实这里面是有4层的，每一层都是由吸铁石吸附住而已。我们表演的时候只需要把它像这样子滑落下来就可以了。好，你学会了吗？
He gave away all the secrets.
I know, he ruined magic for everybody. I love it.
He ruined it.
I went out with a guy that was a magician once.
What is it with people being magicians? I know other people who have gone out with people who are magicians and
they're weird. Are they all weird?
I would assume so.
The one I went out with was super freaking weird.
I would imagine so. How many dates did you go on?
One, if you want to call it that, because I left really quick.
When he told you he was a magician, you were like, I'm out of here.
No, I knew he was a magician, but I never was around a magician before, so I didn't realize they were so like, or he was. I don't know if they all are.
Was he like a David Copperfield type magician?
No, It's just a really bad, like, dinner theater type magician.
Like that, like the party tricks type magician, like that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give us a little palate cleanser because we're going to move on to some more serious topics.
All right. Let's try this.
All right. Yeah.
I love a good kitty.
So, do you remember me telling you about the Lynette Hooker case, the lady that in the Bahamas allegedly went off the back of a dinghy and her husband had to like float for hours to shore and she's missing. She's been missing for like over a month.
I briefly recall this, yes.
Well, Ashley Banfield reported yesterday that a source, which is, according to her, a member of Lynette Hooker's family, that she did make it back to their boat and she did not go off the back of a dinghy. And there was forensic evidence on the boat of her.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that means blood or what that means, but none of this has been reported by law enforcement. But it was reported today by Fox News Digital. And she just did a stream where she mentions this several times, basically saying Fox News Digital stole her reporting without giving her credit. And she feels the type of way about it.
I would imagine so.
A man cut off his penis and set it on fire.
What?
Yeah. Do you want to see his mugshot?
Yes. I want to see the man who would do that.
All right. Let me show you.
Was this man like stranded in the woods and absolutely needed to start a fire? Oh, look at that guy.
Yeah. So it says he cut off his penis, lit it on fire, and then used it to set his mom's garage on fire.
What?
So, yeah. So he used like his lit penis, detached penis as a, like, I don't know, like a torch.
That's a really poor fire starter.
You think?
You could find something else. Yeah. I don't think you need to cut off your penis to start a fire. There's plenty of other things you could do to start a fire.
All right. Are you familiar at all with Lindsay Clancy? Because she has a trial coming up. Do you want me to refresh your memory?
Yes, I am not familiar with her as far as I can remember.
So she is, by trade, she was a nurse and she got postpartum psychosis and murdered her children with exercise bands. Yeah. And then slit her wrists and her throat, I think, and threw herself out of a window.
Ooh.
But she lived. And I mean, she's permanently in a wheelchair from that fall. And her husband's... There is a long history of her trying to get help. But I'm going to play so we can talk about it. I think Vinnie Politan does a
little VPI.
Yeah, we'll do a little VPI. Hopefully he doesn't. Oh, he's not the one with commercials. That's usually Brian Enton.
Oh, yeah. Enton does commercials.
Yeah, it's usually for like Factor meals or something. But this is from News Nation. So.
I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is a tragic story involving the mass killing of 3 children. Mom did it, but there are a lot of people coming to her support. Here's the story. Duxbury, Massachusetts, a quiet seaside town, was shattered by an unthinkable tragedy. Lindsay Clancy, a young nurse, devoted wife, and mother of 3, was seen as the picture of perfection. But police say behind the smiles and family photos, darkness took hold. On a cold January night, investigators say she strangled her children, Cora, Dawson, and baby Callan. All that before attempting to take her own life. Clancy's husband, Patrick, returned home to a scene of unimaginable horror. Now, the once trusted nurse faces murder charges as her defense claims she suffered from severe postpartum psychosis. Prosecutors call it calculated. Her attorneys say it's a symptom of a mind lost to illness. Tonight, the question tears through this small town. Was Lindsay Clancy a monster or a mother broken beyond repair? Difficult situation. Difficult trial. Difficult case. This is far from open and shut. So let's begin here. The response to the scene. You're going to hear from the prosecutor describe what they believe happened here, beginning with the husband, the father coming home, and then emergency workers responding. Take a listen.
Patrick can be heard on the 911 call entering the home and heading to the basement. At one point, he calls out, "Guys." He can then be heard screaming in agony and shock as he found his children. His screams seem to get louder and more agonized as the time passes. Cora and Callan were on the floor in the den area of the finished basement, which is to the left when you walk down the stairs, while Dawson was alone on the floor in his father's home office, which is to the right when you go down the stairs. Each child still had the exercise band that was used to strangle them tied around their necks when their father found them. Dawson and Callan were face down on the floor. Cora was on her side with her torso turned towards the floor. He removed the bands and begged them to breathe. He continued to scream uncontrollably and screamed for officers to come to the basement. The dispatchers are hearing this and they send help down to the basement. And when they encounter Patrick, he yells out, "She killed the kids."
Vinny's
I don't think anyone
not
can
happy.
imagine this scene. Brings us to the first question in our investigation. What happened? What happened here?
It's a good question.
Let's bring in some guests who will help us work through this. Joining us, registered nurse Kim Whalen. She's also known as Nurse Kim on TikTok and on YouTube. And criminal defense attorney Maine Kay. It's great to have you both here. I think it's a difficult case to talk about for everyone. It's a incredible tragedy across the board. But before we start our discussion, I just want to give the folks at home a little more information as we listen to the prosecutor lay out some of what they believe happened here.
On the morning of Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, the defendant took her 5-year-old daughter, Cora, to the pediatrician's for an appointment. She interacted with a receptionist, nursing staff, and a doctor. There were apparently no issues with the defendant's demeanor or behavior as she completed the appointment and was allowed to leave with Cora without any issues or concerns. When she returned home, she went outside with Cora and her 3-year-old son, Dawson, to play in the snow. They built a snowman. The defendant sent photos to her mother and to the defendant, straight that to her husband. She texted with them. Nothing in the text was out of the ordinary or any sign of any distress or trouble. Back inside later that day at 4:02 p.m., the defendant searched on her phone, Kids Miralax. She then searched Takeout 3V via her cell phone at 4:13 p.m. Immediately after doing that, she used Apple Maps on her phone to determine how long it would take someone to drive from her home in Duxbury to 3V restaurant in Plymouth. So she would know how long someone would be gone if they ran that errand. She next went on the CVS website at 4:47 p.m. and then called CVS on Summer Street in Kingston. She spoke to the manager of CVS and asked if they had the Kids Miralax. The manager told her no, but they had other similar medications. According to the manager of CVS, her voice did not sound slurred or impaired in any way. She had no trouble understanding the defendant, and it was a perfectly normal conversation. At 4:53 p.m., the defendant texted her husband, who was working in his home office in their basement. She texted, "Any chance you want to do takeout from 3V? I didn't cook anything. It's been a long day." This was an unusual request, as when the family ordered takeout, they'd usually go somewhere closer to home, but it was a place that they had been in the past. Patrick Clancy texted back yes, and then the defendant asked him to check the menu. At 5:06 p.m., the husband texted the defendant asking what she was going to get. She responded, "A Mediterranean power bowl." She spelled it correctly, and it was something that was on the menu. He then told her that he wanted the scallop and pork belly risotto. At 5:10 p.m., the defendant called 3V Restaurant to place the order. She got the order correct. She gave the correct name for pickup, Patrick. The hostess who took the call said there was nothing out of the ordinary about this call. She was able to understand the defendant.
So it sounds like they're trying to set up the premeditation that there wasn't anything wrong with her, right?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like they're going for.
Yeah, I don't know how much of this I can watch.
This is a brutal case.
It is. I mean, we can talk about it a little bit, but what I do want to get to is her history of the psychosis.
Right.
So I'm going to go forward a little bit and then share again.
Okay. Yeah, this is a heavy one.
Really heavy.
This indicating that she thought that she was anxious and depressed because of postpartum.
I'm going to ask you a lot of intensely personal questions.
That's true. All that is true. Let's peel back those layers right now and take a look at Lindsay's medications. This is from a search warrant. Patrick Clancy stated that Lindsay went to a psychiatrist who he identified as Jennifer Tufts and was prescribed Zoloft. Patrick Clancy stated that Lindsay also saw another psychiatrist who he identified as Rebecca Gelata. Patrick stated that Lindsay was also prescribed multiple other medications. You ready? Time to make a list here, including Valium, Trazodone, Ativan, Klonopin, Prozac, and Seroquel. Patrick stated that Lindsay would take as many as 4 medications a day. However, she would take them as prescribed. Patrick stated that Lindsay stated that she had been having suicidal thoughts as well as thoughts of hurting the children. Lindsay had self-admitted herself to McLean Hospital from January 1st of 2023 through January 5th of 2023. Then it was on the 23rd when all of this happened. Which brings us to the next question in our investigation. What was going on inside the home here? It seems that there is some level of acknowledgement of a problem. Back with us to help, registered nurse Kim Whalen, also known as Nurse Kim on TikTok and YouTube, and criminal defense attorney Dwayne Cates. That list of medications, Nurse Kim, what are your thoughts when you hear a list that long?
Yeah, I have concerns with a list that long, and especially with a mother with 3 babies. It ranges from benzodiazepines to antipsychotic medication in Seroquel. And it also makes you have a little bit of a pause when you think about Lindsay self-referring and admitting to McLean's. This wasn't a Section 12 where she was taken from the community. She requested the help. And 5 days later on the 5th, she is discharged to home with all of those medications and told that she's going to be getting better. Unfortunately, that did not occur. And we know the result that happened less than 2 weeks later.
Yeah, Dwayne,
I want to see what Nurse Kim had to say about it. What do you think?
Those are some serious psychiatric medications.
Yeah.
I took Seroquel at one point in time, and it made me crazy. It didn't make me crazy, but it was not. I felt like a zombie robot. It was weird. I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, that. I don't know what to think of it. I don't know. To what Nurse Kim said, to her point, she did check herself into the hospital. And
That's my big question is like, this person's obviously had admitted they had these issues. I don't understand how the state's now trying to prove that this was premeditated and she's just a bad person, because there's a history of her trying to get help for this stuff. And obviously, like, worst case scenario happened, but I'm curious into what was done ahead of time when she was looking for help. Like, was she just ignored, or was it just like brushed aside, or how did that go down?
I don't know. Her husband's staying with her though. Like, he's sticking with her all through this.
That's shocking.
Yeah. I remember that lady in Texas that murdered her kids. I think she was tried and then it was overturned, and she's in a mental hospital for the rest of her life. But I mean, he moved on right away. He was like, I want nothing to do with you. I'm getting remarried. Goodbye.
Yeah, I think if you have 3 kids and your wife murders all 3 of your kids, I think it's okay to then dissolve the relationship.
Yeah. Well, he's staying with her. He doesn't think it's her fault.
I mean, I don't know that it's her fault, especially if she was on all that medication. And I'll also say that I feel like, just what I know of psychiatric medication, like, some doctors just prescribe stuff. Like, she was on Zoloft, and then she was on Ativan, and then she was on Klonopin. It's like,
yeah, wouldn't you think they'd keep her for a while to see how these medications work? Because some of them won't they take like a while to start working at all?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to have any sort of therapeutic effect, they'll have effects, but they're not going to stabilize your mood overnight. You can't do that. It doesn't exist.
I have an update for you in the Siders family with the 16 kids that were found in that 12 by 12 room.
What is the update?
Couple updates. The first one is there was a preliminary hearing a few days ago, and it was waived by all defendants. So now it goes to a grand jury without the preliminary hearing.
Interesting. Why would they do that?
Well, I mean, sometimes there's really no point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Also, Brian Enton has entered the chat, and he is now covering this. Do you want to see his coverage?
Yes, I do.
I want to show you. I want to share a couple things first.
Okay.
The grandpa was released. So the one of the 4 adults living in the home, the grandpa, who looks like he had a stroke or something like that, he's been released. And it was really interesting. The reason that they gave for releasing him was he had a medical episode during transport to the jail.
Okay.
And whatever medical needs he has, they can't do there. They have to do it at a bigger hospital and like a nearby city, probably given where it is, I would guess Columbus.
Okay.
But if he is in their custody, they're on the hook for his medical treatment.
Yeah, it's true.
So they released him on no bond. So they said it would be expensive. It would probably bankrupt them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a sad state of our healthcare industry, but
it's a really small community. So, and he's not in the States because it's local authorities that have him. So it's the county.
yeah, the county would have to spend all the money.
Right. Exactly. The state is helping the county with resources, especially for these kids. There are pics circulating that say that they're inside their house, that aren't inside their house. They're actually inside another, like a hoarder house that was nearby.
Okay.
But everybody's saying like, oh, first look in their house, and it's totally not their house.
Clickbait.
There was an interview with Elizabeth's attorney that I want to play for you. And it's really interesting that a lot of the stuff that he's saying that are coming from Elizabeth make it sound like they really exaggerated the conditions that these kids lived in to a point. So I want to play that so we can pause and like talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Oh, hold on.
Siders, one of the 4 suspects charged with 16 counts of child endangering. And the woman attorneys believe is the mother of all 16 of those children removed from the Hamden house last week. 10 TV first told you about this story last Tuesday. And at the time, Ohio Attorney General Andy Wilson described the situation as, quote, pure evil.
The next day, authorities said this about the conditions inside that house.
Most of our livestock was kept in better conditions than the children.
Ooh.
But in the past hour, Elizabeth Sider's attorney says there is much more to this story. 10 TV's Carla Rogner spoke to him and joins us now in studio with what we're learning about this, Carla.
Yeah, Tommy Stolley is the attorney appointed to Elizabeth Siders. I talked to him after he visited her in jail this afternoon. He said today she shared more information about her children and told him they were all born in hospitals. He says that he takes issue with comments authorities made calling those conditions inside the home pure evil and wanted to dispel some of the rumors. Here's some of our conversation.
There's a lot of people circulating incest, right?
Yeah.
But and some of them might not be hers. They might be some of the older children.
Right.
But if she had them all in hospitals, it's easy to tell if she gave birth to them or not, right?
Yeah, should be records.
Right, there'll be records that she's the one who had the baby.
Is it your understanding that the kids were forced to stay inside?
I don't think we've seen any evidence to prove that. There's been no evidence to suggest that there were any restraints in the home, that the children were locked or forced to remain in the 12 by 12 room. I think this is one of the things that's been really sensationalized on the internet.
Is it your understanding that she wanted to be pregnant this many times and give birth to this many children?
So what she's told me repeatedly is that she and Gary wanted a big family. I don't know if they wanted a family that was this big, but she's repeatedly said to me that she wanted a big family. She said that kids are a gift from God.
Has she talked to you about how the kids were treated at all, how they fed them, or what the dynamic was like inside of the home?
Absolutely. So quite honestly, when I go into the jail, I've been there 3 times. Every time I go there, we end up talking about the kids for a significant portion of our visit. What she tells me is that the kids had phones. Some of them had social media, the older kids. I don't know how active they were on that.
So if they had social media, the older kids, how can they not spell their own names?
Yeah, something doesn't add up. It doesn't. What this guy's saying versus what everybody else was saying doesn't add up. So either it was grossly exaggerated early on and people were just making up stuff, or this guy's a liar.
Interesting. I don't think he's a liar. He's an attorney, but she would be the liar.
Correct. Either she's a liar.
Social media, but she tells me that they had little inside jokes. And I think the big thing with that is it doesn't jive with the way that this case has been characterized in the public. Because when you use language like feral kids, you're imagining people that have been isolated away from human contact. People who have never interacted with any sort of social media, with the internet, with humans outside of their own home, or even humans in general, who are completely lack the ability to use language. There's nothing to suggest that that is the case here.
So the kids can communicate.
That's my understanding, yes.
Now, the attorney told me that Elizabeth has been receiving care packages from people while she's been in jail. He has filed a motion requesting Elizabeth be released on a recognizance bond. Right now, she remains in jail alongside her husband, Gary Jr., and Christina Siders. Yolanda?
All right, thank you.
Probably for the best right now.
What, does she stay locked up?
Yeah. Till they figure out what's going on.
So now that you've seen that, I can play the Brian Ensign, because he makes it sound like, the description of the children is feral and never been to school and not knowing how to spell their names and not being able to speak. That's his impression of this.
That's what I'm saying. That's what everyone's been saying.
Yeah, everybody. But could that be exaggerated? Because it's bad enough on its own.
It is. Yeah.
This is interesting because he compares it a lot to those Turpin kids that were found in California.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out the show. Really appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody for checking out my content and everybody who's subscribed. You guys know how it is. Like, a lot of these stories I cover, a lot of these cases are super sad, but some of them are just sort of like beyond. And this Ohio case with the 16 abused children, allegedly at the hands of their parents and grandparents, living in the 12 by 12 room, really on the brink of death. A house of horror, as many are calling it, is just awful. And I have a really unique perspective on the case in this episode. You guys might remember, probably do the Turpin case in California, a similar case, kids abused by their parents, locked in the house, chained up, didn't even really know how to speak.
I think Brian got a haircut. It's looking a little bit shorter.
Looks nice.
Yeah, his hair always looks great.
Yeah.
Speak or use language. Well, the prosecutor in that case is going to join me in this episode to talk about why parents do this and how the victims can recover. And she understands this really unlike anyone else, because she was close to the Turpins. She was the prosecutor. She understands the parents, the evil. And I'm just really interested in her perspective on all of it. So I'm going to get into it and the latest on the case in Ohio. The parents were just in court again. I've got all the details coming up in this episode of Brian Ensign Investigates. So it's got to be one of the worst cases any of us have seen in a long time when it comes to children. 16 children rescued from an Ohio home. The details are I was just saying, they're beyond. The kids kept isolated in a 12 by 12 room, isolated from the world, and living in literal squalor. Investigators describe the children as almost feral, ranging in age from 18 months to 18 years old. They're 18, 16, 15, 14, 13, 11, 10, 8, 6, 5. There were 4-year-old twins, there were 2-year-old twins, and there were 1.5-year-old twins. Think about that.
Whoa.
In that little house, in that little room.
3 sets of twins?
Parents have now been arrested. 73-year-old Gary Siders.
Yeah, so women, the older they get, the higher their chances are of having twins. So you're more likely to have a set of twins when you're over 30 than you are when you're under 30.
That still sounds crazy. That was the last.
I looked it up today because I was curious.
Yeah.
66-year-old Christina Siders, 36-year-old Gary Siders II, and 33-year-old Elizabeth Siders. And investigators say the children, again, just living in beyond horrific conditions. 7 of them even had to be hospitalized, with 2 flown to trauma centers.
Because I'm telling you, in what I've seen up to this point, I think if they would have waited another 24 hours, there was a very high probability that we'd be dealing with a death or multiple deaths of these children.
Most of our livestock was kept in better conditions than the children. It was extremely high presence, I'm sure, of bacterial and human feces. It was just a disgusting scene.
So what investigators say makes the investigation so difficult is some of the children, they can barely even speak.
That's why there's kind of contributes to a lack of information. It's one of the investigative challenges we have to face is that they are limited. They can communicate, but it's extremely limited, and some not at all.
Some of these children couldn't even speak. Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking, this is very, it was terrible. I mean, they really.
When you said some of them can't speak, do you think maybe they just didn't speak because they were scared?
That could be the case. I mean, that's what the lawyer's saying, but what the lawyer's saying is in such stark contrast to what the police are saying. You know? And I know that the police like to exaggerate things, or they like to, you know, overcharge people and stuff. Prosecutors do. And I have issues with all that. But this would be so egregious. They literally just said these kids can't communicate. And then the lawyers, like, they had cell phones and some of them were on social media. So, like, it just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
They looked.
You know what, though? When she was talking to the lawyer earlier, I don't know if you noticed this, he didn't answer the question about what she was doing for food for them. He totally avoided that question.
It looked like almost feral animals. It was terrible. So when we're talking reading and writing and education, we're talking a whole nother level of expectations here. Like it's hard enough just to get these kids to be able to. The 18-year-old can't spell her name.
One of the big questions that I have, that I think a lot of people have who have been following the story, is how did this go undiscovered for so long? With so many people living in one small house of filth, how did no one know? Well, the children were not enrolled in school, and it seems that people didn't know the extent of how bad it was.
I don't know how I could barely walk behind them in the store and be able to breathe. And not being mean, my husband would always kind of, you know, shrug me like, you don't judge people just off of how they smell or how they look or what they're wearing, because you never know. Kind of can't believe that they were all living in something that was that bad.
It's just shocking. 16 kids in that kind of condition. This is going to last a long time being shocked. It's not going to go away in a year. It's not going to go away in a couple of years. It's going to be long lasting. That's the truth.
This case brings up another strikingly disturbing case, and there's so many similarities to the Turpin case. And I'm going to talk to the prosecutor of that case in a minute, who can share what these children in Ohio are facing with their recovery. In the Turpin case, this was from back in 2018, 13 siblings were rescued from horrific conditions. This was in Paris, California. The abusers were their parents, David and Louise Turpin. The discovery was made after 17-year-old Jordan Turpin escaped from the house, called 911. It's an unbelievable story. Jordan and her siblings were subject to starvation, to dehydration.
Meanwhile, Jordan Turpin is amazing, and she's really smart. Like, that's how she was able to escape being isolated the way she was. She was so smart to figure out how to work a phone on her own, things like that.
And violence. Several of the kids were found chained to their beds. And the parents ended up pleading guilty in that case to torture, child endangerment, and false imprisonment. They were sentenced to life in prison. And tragically, the kids were subject to even more abuse when they were put into the foster care system. And that's what I'm thinking about with this Ohio case. And there's someone who knows the Turpin case better than literally pretty much anyone. It's attorney Kim DeGonia, who prosecuted the case. Kim, it's nice to see you. Thank you for joining me. I wanted to talk to you because the minute I heard about this Ohio story, the Turpin case obviously popped into my head. And you really know more. I mean, you prosecuted that case. You know more about this sort of thing than anyone else I can think of. And there just seems to be a lot of similarities here. And the first thing I thought with this Ohio case, which also relates to Turpin, is like, how did no one know 16 kids in this house? How are we just now hearing about this? How did they just now find them?
Well, hey, Brian, it's nice to see you again. Thanks for having me. I mean, that was the exact question we had with the Turpin kids too. And what I think it comes down to is just, you know, people's lives are so busy. You go to work, you come home from work, you get your kids, you go to soccer, you go to gymnastics, you do all the things, and you're busy with your own life, and you're not really noticing who your neighbor is. And you're not really noticing, like, oh, that's weird, my neighbor never comes out. You know, we're just so detached, it seems, from one another. And so I think it's very easy for these.
I would totally notice. I think, like, I noticed, I said something about one neighbor that never comes out the other day to you. Do you remember that? Are you muted and not listening to me?
I was muted. Sorry. I'm trying to manage my mic better. I apologize. No, I was saying that I would be completely oblivious. I wouldn't notice at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would. I don't know if I'd report it, but
that's the other side too. It's like, what are you?
I probably would.
Yeah, you probably.
Kids to slide under the radar. Obviously, it was very easy for the Turpin kids too. And the other thing was they weren't attending public school. They had never been registered in the local public school or the school district. And so really the local board of education, local school districts did not know that these kids even existed in their community or that they were potential students that should be attending. Now with the Turpin case, as you know, there was that oversight with the board of, not the board of education, excuse me, the state, who Louise and David Turpin had been applying for their homeschool license and had somebody come out earlier from the state to check to make sure it was a legitimate homeschool program. Then maybe they would have been found sooner, but that begs the question, like, how do they just fly under the radar? Nobody sees them or knows them or even knows they exist for decades. It's so sad.
With the Turpins, were there ever neighbors who called in anything or noticed anything strange?
Yeah, so there was neighbors in Texas that noticed, you know, kind of right when all of it began and Louise started acting very strange and taking the kids out of school. There was an opportunity for the local school district there. And there was a neighbor in Texas, actually. There was also a pastor when Jennifer ran away that had contact and realized something weird was going on, but they chose to take the kids right back to David and Louise. when they moved into that Marietta house, there were a couple neighbors that came forward and said that they noticed weird things, like only certain kids would come out, but they would see other kids, like silhouettes marching upstairs, that they knew there were more children in that house. But again, nobody acted or did anything.
So I keep hearing from my friends about how much they love Factor, and I'm just like,
Oh,
"Look,
here we
guys,
go.
The food is so good."
There's
and I
your
appreciate
Factor
that Factor.
Factor
Kids are
meals.
18, 16, 15, 14, 13, 11, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4-year-old twins, 2-year-old twins, and 1.5-year-old twins. So they had 3 sets of twins, but no one really knows for sure. Like, and I hate to say this, but like we don't seem to know for sure that those are all the mom and the dad's kids. Like, it seems like a lot of kids for just them, you know?
Right, and very close in age. It does beg the question, is there going to be some type of DNA done or some type of further investigation to figure out, are they all mom and dads?
Yeah.
It's a valid question. With the Turpins, we were pretty confident that all 13 children did belong to David and Louise, as far as that is concerned.
Just mentally, psychologically, like, what is going on with these parents? I mean, this is a really big question, I know, but those are your own kids. It's your own blood. How does it get to this point where they're living in filth? They're chained up with the Turpins. Similar situations, they were living in a 12 by 12 room in Ohio. Like, how do people get to a place where they're doing this to their own kids?
I mean, Brian, that is the $1 million question. How do they? I don't know. It's so callous, and it's so, I mean, there's no words to describe, right? How a mother and a father who bear these children can turn and put them into the conditions, or even themselves live in those conditions, where it's so filthy and there's rats and there's feces. Nobody in their right mind would want to live in that. So it begs the question, what is going on with these parents and why? What is their motive for wanting to produce all these children and then just treat them in this manner? I think there's got to be some mental health things going on, some control issues. I know that David and Louise, at some point, they tried to point fingers. At some point, they tried to blame it on past traumas. All of the kids typically, though, had the same story, that it was a gradual demise. It wasn't always so bad, that Louise started out little by little. And it's almost like with each chaining of one child, then it became easier to chain them for longer. And then with each forcing a child to skip a meal, it became easier to make all of them skip a meal. And then with chaining one, it became easier to chain 2. And then they just kind of got used to this rhythm of adding horrific things. And I mean, to the point where they were at where they're chained and they're in cages and they're living in deplorable conditions. I don't know, though, the answer to that question of how a parent gets to that point. It's horrible.
Was it a religious thing with the Turpins at first?
I mean, there was some evidence of that yes, it was this multi-different religions that they had kind of meshed into one. Some things from Buddhism, some things from Christianity, some things from atheism. It was a very strange how they spoke about the religion, but nonetheless, there was this love for God within all of the children when we met them. And even I think till to this day, a lot of them really have a deep faith. But I don't think that it was the religion that they had created that sent them down this road to live in these conditions. And with David and Louise, it was interesting. When it got so bad for them in Texas, they actually went and lived in a hotel and let the kids stay in those horrible conditions. So, I mean, it's unexplainable.
Do they claim to love their kids?
They went and stayed in a hotel and made their kids stay. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you even explain that? I mean,
probably you would analogize it to the domestic violence, right? Where a partner beats up their other partner in a horrible way, but still claims it's in the name of love. And it was just a overreaction, or all of the excuses that they use, but they call that love as well, which is equally disturbing.
With the Ohio case, I was watching the sheriff. He was explaining that some of the kids can't even really speak. Like, even the older kids don't have like language skills. The 18-year-old, he said, couldn't write her name. Like with the Turpins, how difficult was it to communicate with them initially?
Brian, that was almost an identical thing that we struggled with the Turpins. And in fact, I think when Diane Sawyer had the 911 call come out and you saw Jordan Turpin trying to explain to the detective what the chain, like the bruises on the wrist were, she kept calling them the places. She didn't know the grammatical word to use. My brother is chained up and he has bruises on him. She kept calling it the places. And you can see the deputy is like, I don't know what she's talking about. He was thinking about calling in a 5150 hold. Same with the medications. She couldn't read or say the word medication. She couldn't say her street name. And there was this cadence about all of those children that was very present when we first rescued them. You could hear that there was a different cadence, almost like their own language that you could visibly hear when you spoke to them. And I believe it's the same with these Ohio kids, because when you're not exposed to the outside world and you're not exposed to individuals who have accents, individuals who have English as their second language, we pick up a lot of those social skills and how we speak to one another. And when you don't have any of that because you are completely isolated, it shows a very similar pattern in their language and how they speak. Similar with the Turpin kids, they weren't going to school. They weren't being homeschooled by Louise, so they didn't know how to write their names. Those poor kids were rescued and got thrown into the foster care system and had to go to elementary school at the age that they were. So they got thrown into 4th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, yet they had never been to school. They don't know 4th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade work. And I would imagine the Ohio children are in the exact same boat.
Is it complicated for them, like with the Turpins, and I'm thinking of these Ohio kids, emotionally, like, even though you've been abused so badly, that's the only life you've ever known? and suddenly you're pulled out of that. Like I even think about, I've heard from people who were like in prison for a long time, like in a way they miss prison because of the routine and that's all they knew for like 40, 50 years. You know what I mean? Is it a similar thing?
Yes, there was some of the children of those 13 in the Turpin case that, you know, they appreciated their freedom, but there was definitely some who had that very sentiment where they just wanted to go back to what was familiar. And the other thing that was hard, and I'm sure it's the same way in Ohio with Child Protective Services, you know, if you're over the age of 18, even though you have the mentality and the education level of maybe a 7-year-old, they can't go into foster care. They've aged out of the system. So all of the children over the age of 18 will have to go into Adult Protective Services, and the children will have to go through Child Protective Services, which means all 16 of them will be split up. And I think that was particularly, even to this moment in time, the most difficult things the Turpin kids have had to deal with is all of the siblings. They only had each other. They were each other's friends. They were each other's confidence. You know, Jordan would do her YouTube videos and her other sister would be her lookout for her. And that was all she had when she was in that home with David and Louise. And when they were rescued, all of that was taken away. They got split up. And that was a very, very difficult thing for them to deal with. And I hope the Ohio kids don't have to deal with that, because having each other, I think, probably would be easier, but the realities of the system is they're likely split up, which is an added emotional pressure that they're going to have to deal with living in society that they've never lived in and dealing with social norms that they've never dealt with before for years.
How does it make any sense to split them up? I mean, it just seems like with everything that they've been through, like with the Turpins, did they not consider at least keeping them together, or maybe keeping half of them together or something like that?
I think they did try to keep a few of them together, and at times a few of them were together. But as far as the adults, all of the children that were over the age of 18 had to be put in Adult Protective Services, and the children that were under the age of 18 had to be put in foster homes. So there was no way to have all of them combined because of the age group and because of the different agencies that were responsible for them. So, and it's difficult to find a foster home that wants to take in 13 people or 16 kids in the Ohio case. You know, that's a lot to ask of a foster family who also has no training whatsoever in this specific type of trauma, right? How often do we hear about dozens of children being chained up together, not fed? You know, we don't hear about that very often. And so therefore most foster parents aren't going to know how to deal with that situation, sadly. So you can't really throw 13 or 16 of them into one home just because of logistics and because of training and the trauma and all of the things that go with it. But it's the most difficult on the kids.
Yeah, so with the Ohio case, there were 2 that had to be airlifted even. That's how serious the injuries were. 7 went to the hospital, 2 had to be airlifted. They won't give specifics on like what the injuries are, but what comes to mind? I mean, I know they were living in filth.
Oh, I mean, they're probably emaciated. They probably don't have enough enough food in their system to keep them alive. We had that issue and that concern with 1 or 2 of the Turpin kids, that there was a very serious moment in time where the doctors at Corona Regional didn't know or had said if they would have lived in these conditions even 48 hours to 72 hours longer, there's a good chance they would have died from starvation, essentially.
Dang.
And I would imagine that's probably the same thing that's happening there.
With the Turpins, once they got into the system, you mentioned like foster care, there was more abuse.
Yes. And it wasn't just the abuse of their foster family. It was the mental and the emotional abuse that also came with it. Because you got to remember, Brian, most of us would not know what to do with a child who had been eating only a peanut butter sandwich every single day, right? You would take that child into your home and you would think, I want to cook them a feast every single night and I want to make them eat dinner and eat lunch and breakfast and pancakes. But for a child who's only been eating a peanut butter sandwich for the last decade of their life, there's a very specific way in which you must reintroduce food. And those children don't know about how to chew meat. You know, it's almost like teaching an infant how to eat all over again. And so then you have foster families getting frustrated because they don't have training in how to feed these children, and the children are getting sick because they're actually eating and they're not being introduced to food properly. So you have the struggle that the children already have with food that's been created because they've been deprived of it for so long, mentally and emotionally, but physically, their little bodies are just unable to process the food because their bodies have not been taught to do that. Then you have the emotional that they're trying to overcome, right? Their parents are now in jail. They're split up from their siblings. And then you're thrown into a foster family where they're abusive, physically, verbally, their international things are much different.
All right. We don't have to watch the whole thing. It's interesting that he's starting to cover this story. What do you think about this?
It's interesting. I think I don't trust the lawyer. I think these kids are probably way worse off. And I think maybe the mom is sugarcoating it to the lawyer because like what they had said about the Turpin kids, where it was like, it was a gradual thing and it just happened in a way that was not obvious to the people involved. But yeah, that's what I think. I think those kids are gonna need a lot of help.
So I have 2 more to cover with you. One of them is a court case that's coming up really soon. Her name is Sarah Grace Patrick. I think there's a VPI episode that we could watch to kind of catch you up to speed, and then we can discuss it a little bit so that we know what's going on when the trial happens. And the other one is a Bricks and Minifigs update. He went on with Jesse Weber last night. I haven't seen the interview yet, so this will be like a cold watch for both of us. The only issue I have with watching anything on News Nation is at the end of every video, at like double volume. Chris Cuomo, no matter what the video is, Chris Cuomo comes on and goes, "Thank you for watching," like screaming, booming at you. It's very abrupt. So just be warned, if we watch it, that might happen.
Okay. I do have another palate cleanser for you.
Oh, let's see it.
Okay, here we go. That's a fun video.
So they have harmonicas in their mouth, but
Yes.
they can see.
Yes.
So they
Well,
give themselves
they can-
away.
The
They
guy
give
with
themselves away when they walk around.
the guy with the harmonica on his mouth is blindfolded, and he's trying to whip him with whatever that thing is. The other guys can see, but they have ducks on their feet, so when they walk, it quacks.
Well, what's the stuff all over the ground?
Mouse traps.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible. All right, we're gonna watch so Bricks and Minifigs, Reckless Ben, the gag order was removed. He released a part 3. It's pretty long. I'm not gonna play it. Plus you've seen it. So I'm not gonna play that, but he was on Jesse Weber, so I'm gonna play that.
Let's do it.
Oh, let me bring it up.
Oh, Reckless Ben. Reckless Ben, I think he's a bit confused.
I don't think he's confused. He's hilarious. And
He's confused about what obstruction is, I think.
I don't think he is. I think he's just trying to expose something, but he's not necessarily going about it the right way because he needs an attorney.
Yeah.
Like he can't represent himself in court.
The YouTube star is going to talk with us exclusively about his big legal win and the mystery of the missing Lego. Yep, a judge just granted him the right to talk again. This is a big development. I got to give you a background, though. A quick look at how this whole Lego legal drama unfolded, okay? All started when an Oregon family entrusted a franchise of a chain called Bricks and Minifigs to sell the reportedly $200,000 Star Wars Lego set on consignment. But the franchise was apparently sold, and the Lego owners say they never got their Lego, they never got paid. Now, the family sued the franchise, claiming their agreement was breached, that Bricks and Minifigs stole the Lego collection, and that is when Reckless Ben got on the case. He allegedly traveled to Utah, where the franchise executive lives, reportedly started documenting attempts to make contact at his property, posted videos, all going viral. The executive apparently called police, led to Ben getting arrested twice, and as we reported, Bricks and Minifigs also filed a lawsuit against Ben, and that brings us to this week. Ben is facing a total of 4 criminal charges. They're all misdemeanors. Provo, Utah, he's charged with disorderly conduct, also reportedly commercial obstruction for allegedly going to the Bricks and Minifigs corporate headquarters. Ben tells us he was there to ask for the Legos back. Over in American Fork, Utah, he's charged with stalking and residential picketing for allegedly going to the franchise owner Josh Johnson's house. Now, Reckless Ben just scored a big legal win. This is when a Utah federal court, this judge lifted the ban that had been on him posting videos related to Bricks and Minifigs. This was a TRO. However, the revised order still prohibits Ben from coming within 100 meters of any Bricks and Minifigs stores or offices, prevents him from making any threats. Now, we've reached out to Bricks and Minifigs for a statement today, but we haven't heard back. The company is maintaining it does not have the Lego, and in a statement to local media, they said that this issue in its civil case against Ben, real name Ben Schneider, is going to be addressed through private mediation. It hopes to resolve everything in the coming weeks, but for now, Ben says he got his freedom back, his freedom of speech back. He's already made a new YouTube video. Here's an exclusive sneak peek.
Legally, I'm not allowed to film inside court, so I formally requested the audio, but since there was no visual, I hired an animator to animate over it.
Right now, I kind of don't even know what I'm being charged for because all of the body cam footage has been redacted, and they say it's to protect the victims. However, I think there are some redactions that maybe don't make sense.
Ben Schneider, Reckless Ben, joins me now. Ben, good to see you again. Thanks for taking the time. You just got your right to talk.
Oh my gosh, look at his jacket.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the guy's face. Oh my gosh, that's freaking hilarious.
That's hilarious.
Back, are you feeling like you're winning your case brick by brick?
Yeah, I'm just happy to have my freedom of speech back. It feels amazing to be able to talk again.
So what is the plan now? Like, why is it so important for you to talk about this? What do you want to say? What are you going to say?
Well, I think it kind of sucked because I was silenced, and then Bricks and Minifigs would just go on all these news stations, or the CEO would, and just start spouting all these crazy lies about us. Like, we were trying to give them their Legos back, but they never wanted it back. And I couldn't defend myself. I couldn't say what the truth was, or else I would go to jail. So it was a pretty insane thing that happened.
What is going on with the civil case now? Is it going to court? Is it going to private mediation? What's the status of it?
It seems like they're at full force still. They have not lightened up at all. So they are suing us. The base right now is 1.3 million, but our lawyers are saying it could easily get over 10 million per person. And there's 16 defendants. So that's going to be at least like over $100 million they're asking from us, which is insane.
So but they make it seem like they're going to resolve this in the next few weeks. According to what I'm hearing from you, is that doesn't seem likely.
So that's what my lawyers are saying. Is my lawyers are confident that they can solve it. We've hired some really good lawyers, but just from my personal experience with them, I'm doubtful. I think their egos are too big to resolve this. I think they're going to go until the company gets burned down, but I could be wrong. We'll see. But the lawyers at least are pretty confident that we can resolve it fast.
Ben, I don't need to tell you, this story blew up. It's everywhere. People are following it. I think that's affecting a lot of it. By the way, did you know that Courtney Love posted her support for you on Instagram? I don't know if you saw that, but I don't know if she reached out to you. Did she reach out to you? I mean, what's your reaction to that?
Yeah, she reached out. She seems to be like the #1 fan of the series. She has gone through all the rabbit holes and watched all the YouTubers reacting videos, and she's gone all the way down the rabbit hole. She posted the picture where the same shirt I'm wearing right now. It's of the CEO.
Is that what that is?
I saw this today.
Did you?
I did. I saw Courtney Love made this post, and I was like, "Is that really Courtney Love?" And then I like went on because it says the check mark.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's really Courtney Love!" Like all of her other videos have nothing to do with anything like this, but she's into it. So that's a cool endorsement.
Yeah.
He's got Courtney Love and Patreon behind him.
There you go.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I have my freedom of speech back. I'm allowed to put his face on a shirt. I'm allowed to do that now. So yeah.
So what is that attention, that support? How has that affected everything that's going on?
Oh, it's been awesome. I don't think we would be able to win without the public support, because when I first started this, I had no resources. Brian had no resources. I was just some like kind of small YouTuber, I guess, when I took on this case. And there was no way we were ever going to win. Like, the reason we're winning right now is because of the public support. And that's the reason we will win if we win, is not because like we had more resources than them. Bricks and Minifigs have way more resources than us, but we have the public support behind us. And that's the only reason we're going to win if we do win.
But it's also maybe why they're pushing back and want to take this even further. Let me ask you about the criminal charges, because I mentioned you are facing criminal charges in these Utah jurisdictions. Are you being represented by counsel, and have they given you an indication about what your legal defenses may be?
Yeah, at first I just wanted to represent myself because I was arrested for serving court papers and making a GoFundMe. So I was like, I don't need to waste money on a lawyer. I'll just beat this myself. And then I saw how corrupt everything was becoming, and I was like, I don't know, I might actually need a lawyer. And then the public support came in. We made some money on the GoFundMe, and so now I do finally have money for a lawyer now, which is good, which I didn't before. And their advice is basically, I don't know. I mean, I kind of got arrested for stupid stuff. So as long as we're just honest, I feel like we'll win. I don't know.
So, I mean, are they saying like the police overstepped their role? The way they arrested you was improper? Like, that's what they're saying?
Well, that's more of a civil rights attorney, which
okay.
I've hired like 5 lawyers in the last like 2 weeks, which is insane. But yeah, we have civil rights attorneys. I have 2 criminal defense attorneys. I have a franchise attorney that we're getting. So we have like all these different attorneys for everything. I have an entertainment attorney now. So yeah, I think I have 5 lawyers I literally just hired, and they're all for very specific things. So some of them are for the police and justice. Some of them are for like criminal charges. Some of them are for the franchises specifically.
So I imagine making the videos, this might be a way to pay the.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that he's getting lawyers. I saw a lot of YouTube lawyers like offering help.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody said that the brother Solomon was maybe tied to this case. So he's a civil rights attorney. Maybe he's going to help.
Maybe one of the ones. Yeah, maybe one of the ones that's jumping in.
And I know that the civil rights lawyer who has the YouTube channel, he had people on and was talking about this and covering it a lot. So
really, lawyers, right? I mean, they ain't cheap.
Yeah, I would. If this didn't blow up, I would not have any access to lawyers because I like this is the first time I've like really ever seen money come in. And
Right.
so now I finally have money for lawyers, which is awesome, and it's all thanks to the viewers. So thank you. Like we can finally beat this case now.
Let me circle it right back. Any word on where the Lego is, the missing Lego? Have you gotten any indication?
Dude, we still don't know. So Bricks and Minifigs, Ammon, the CEO, claims they did an inventory, and the whole video we just made, the episode 3, is pretty much the main plot point is can we take a look at this inventory and clear Bricks and Minifigs' name? Let's prove Bricks and Minifigs' innocence, right? And for some reason, the document that would prove their innocence, they are keeping on to it as like their most like secret possession ever. And they will not let anyone see it. So I don't know. I think that inventory would have the answer you're looking for.
Well, listen, Ben, I've been following this from the very beginning. I followed your court hearing this week. It was very short, but I was listening to all of it. You have an open platform here to come talk about what's going on with the civil case, what's going on with the criminal cases, and we'll continue to follow it. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
You got it.
Thank you for watching.
Oh,
you got it.
Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.
Is it going to be really loud? That Chris Cuomo thing. I mean, come on, Chris.
You got Cuomo'd.
I knew I was going to get Cuomo'd. I said it before.
You mentioned it earlier, yeah, and then it just happened.
They sneak it in so fast that you don't have enough time on the trigger to hit it. Just lower the volume, News Nation, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
All right, so the last one I have is Sarah Grace Patrick.
Okay.
Let me cue this up to the beginning and get it on 5 times speed.
5 times?
Oh, sorry, 1.5. 5 times would be insane, right?
How are we gonna even understand that?
We might be able to understand it. You want to try?
Yeah, let's do it.
It doesn't
go that high. It only goes up like 2 times speed, right? 2.5.
Yes. Wait, let's see. It goes up to 3. That's it.
Wow.
It's Vinny.
Oh, VPI.
I'm Vinny Politan. The subject of my investigation is the murder of a mom and stepdad who were asleep in their home in a very quiet neighborhood when they were shot to death. Now police believe the murderer lived in the house, the teenage daughter. Here's the story.
Wow.
Sarah Grace Patrick, age 17, is charged with the February 20th, 2025 murders of her mother, Kristen Brock, and her stepfather, James Brock, in their Carroll County, Georgia home. Their bodies were discovered in bed by her younger sister. Shortly after, Sarah called 911. Investigators say they uncovered mountains of physical and digital evidence, leading them to arrest her as an adult. Sarah turned herself in July and has been held without bond. Supporters describe her as faithful, kind, and deeply distraught, demanding proof beyond just the online clues. As the case proceeds towards trial in early 2026, the community waits and wonders, is Sarah Grace a grieving daughter or something far darker?
So these days, when you have a case involving someone, in this case a defendant who is 17 years old, one place that you look to try to understand what's going on in their life and who they are and what they're about is social media. And in this case, Sarah Grace Patrick was active on social media, but it's really the tale of 2 different stories. I want to start by showing you some of the posts that she was doing before the murder of her mother and her stepfather. We begin on Instagram, and we take a look at this one with the caption, "Working on myself," the lips emoji. And this is one of those glamour shots, right? These are very, very common. Young men and young women posting them all the time. You get a lot of attention from it. You use some filters. You end up looking a little different, a little bit older than you actually are in this photo, if you've seen her in court. But that was one post. Here's the second post. Again, these are all before the murders. Mind over matter. Mind over matter. And again, somewhat glamorous, but here you have a little bit more of a casual type of pose inside a vehicle. Here's another one. Can't be bothered. And all of these, I mean, what we're hearing, like this stuff is extremely common. But this, again, another one of those glamour shots. You've got great lighting. Everything is framed properly. She's dressed up, again, appearing a little bit older than she does when she's inside of a courtroom. Now, let's take a look at one more from the before batch that we have for you tonight. And this one says, just sit back and watch. Okay. Again, pretty standard stuff. Go online. You will see thousands and thousands and thousands of teenagers doing
Yeah, this is normal.
Yeah, it's totally normal.
Yeah, everybody does this.
exactly what Sarah Patrick was doing before the murders. Now, afterwards, she's on TikTok. And things are a little different. A very vulnerable moment, right?
Yeah, because she'd be sad, right?
Yeah.
The caption of this one, please send prayers for healing and for a break from everything. I'm so tired. I should probably delete later. This is a whole different version of Sarah Patrick that we're seeing. And her mother's dead. Her mother's shot in the house. She's in the house when it happens. The question is, did she or did she not do it? Stepfather.
Yeah,
I don't think this proves anything about whether or not she did it. She's upset after her mother was murdered. That sounds like the appropriate reaction.
I mean, is this their evidence?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Also shot to death. Let's take a look at another one. This one, life's hard, but at least I have my mom.
Well, why'd she say that if her mom was gone? Oh, maybe she's being sarcastic.
Sarcastic, yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Well, that's powerful, man.
Yeah, this is really
Now, we don't know the
She's like, I don't even have my mom anymore.
exact date of this one, but it could be before, but it's more likely afterwards. Life's hard, but at least I have my mom. Let's look at another one.
Oh.
It hasn't hit me yet that they're actually gone yet. It's public grieving, but again, not every teenager has a situation like this, but again,
Teenagers do everything out in the public. Everything.
Yeah.
I don't go online. You will see teenagers do this. Be very.
Go ahead. What?
I was saying I don't see anything out of the ordinary with her behavior right now. Like I don't know.
No,
what
me
she's trying
either.
to prove, but
public with their emotions and what they're thinking.
I think Vinny probably thinks along the same lines as us right now. That's why he's doing this the way he is, but we'll see.
Let's take a look at the next one. This one. I know how it feels to have people saying the worst lies about you at your worst. And obviously this is after the murders, and there are rumblings, and there are, rumors and people pointing fingers.
Yeah.
And let's go to the last one from TikTok that we have. A caption on another TikTok. I'll never forget her last time speaking to me. She came in my room when I was in bed watching a show, and she told me good night in a deep voice, acting silly. I should have hugged her. So these are some of the after posts that Sarah Patrick put up there. Now, what else do we know about Sarah Patrick? Take a look at this, folks. This is from a motion filed by Sarah Grace Patrick's attorney. A motion in limine. Motion in limine is, we don't want this information in front of the jury. What do they not want in front of the jury? All comments relating to the defendant texting or having sex with other guys or any reference to the defendant's alleged sexual behavior or promiscuity.
Oh my God, they're going to try to slut shame her. Is that their legal strategy?
I don't know, but that yeah, no, that sounds terrible.
All videos, posts, or pictures depicting or alluding to the sexual behavior of the defendant. All comments relating to the defendant's illicit drug use or hiding of drugs or drug paraphernalia.
Oh, and they're going to say because she smoked weed, she killed her parents?
Maybe.
Well, I haven't heard any evidence yet, and I know this isn't their evidence. It's a motion in limine, but still.
Yeah. I haven't heard any evidence either.
This is what the defense wants to keep out. So it seems that they are perhaps conceding that some of this evidence exists.
Of course it does.
Come on,
She's a
Vin.
teenager. Come on.
Come on, Vin.
No, it's not Vin. It's not his fault. I think he's thinking along the same lines as us. He's a former prosecutor.
But like that's classic Vin. He's always the guy that's like,
Yeah, both sides of the fence, right? He
Yeah,
has to be.
yeah.
I don't blame him too hard for that.
Right? You don't file a motion to preclude stuff if it doesn't exist. You usually don't. Brings us to the first question in our investigation tonight, an important one. Did social media play a role in what happened? I'm also interested, though, in this information.
Did social media play a role in what happened? He's saying that like she's the one who did it, and social media played a role. There's no
what I
evidence
meant.
of this.
That's what I meant about Vin. Vin takes the bait with this stuff all the time. He's always
Oh,
like,
come on, dude.
yeah.
From this motion to eliminate, let's bring in our guest. Joining me, true crime podcaster from Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Tony Bruschi's with
I
us.
want to see Tony Bruce.
And Georgia criminal defense attorney John Luke Weaver. Great to have you both here. I want to. This first question I want to look at gave us an indication as to some of the specifics, and a lot of times we do have that information. We also know where this all took place. Let's take a look at the home. It's in Carroll County, Georgia, very rural, suburban kind of location. People have property. The house is not huge. It is not sprawling, but it's a nice house. It's got, I believe, 3, maybe 4 bedrooms, all on one side of the house, on that right side of the house. If you take a look at it, we also have an image from up in the sky from the drone. And when you take a look at the drone footage, you can see, as you can see from those pictures, yeah, there's trees. There's no neighbor right next door to you. So gunshots in the middle of the night, I don't think you're going to wake people up in that neighborhood. So let's kind of review here about what we do know about this case and what's been made public in terms of evidence or potential evidence. So Sarah Patrick's mother and stepfather found shot to death in their bed. That's Kristen and James Brock. February 2025 at their home in Carrollton, Georgia, Carroll County. Sarah Patrick's 6-year-old sister is the one who discovered the bodies. Sarah called 911 herself, but she was not arrested until July, 5 months later. 5 months it takes to build the case. Investigators say her digital footprint is of interest. The sheriff's office spokesperson didn't rule out more arrests.
Guilty by slut shaming. That's what this is sounding like.
Yeah, this is sounding like another Amanda Knox style, Foxy Knoxy type thing.
It sure does.
When asked about whether anyone else could be responsible. Now, Dennis Nolan is Sarah's grandfather, and as I mentioned, the father of Sarah's mom. So one of the victims in the case. Here's what he said about the evidence in the case.
For them to charge Sarah without, and I'll say this, the investigator told me the day they issued the warrant, when I asked him, I said, well, what proof why did you pick on Sarah? He said, well, she's the only one who could have done it.
Oh, God.
And that's a quote. But that's, to me, that's not enough proof to throw a 17-year-old girl in jail.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, that brings us to the next question in our investigation. All about the evidence. What type of evidence do prosecutors have in this case? Is it just, it couldn't be her 6-year-old sister, so it's her? She's the only one who could have done it? Do they have the forensics? Is this a DNA case? I don't think they have a murder weapon. Let's bring in our guest. Joining me, retired police commander, author.
I mean, when I was a teenager, I would stay up really late at night and wear headphones with music really loud. And I would even fall asleep with those in.
Yeah.
So somebody could have came in and done something to my family and I wouldn't have woken up.
Absolutely. I don't know why the default is to go after the oldest daughter and say, oh, well, she must have done it because no one else could have done it. Like, what? There's plenty of other things that could happen.
Yeah.
And host of the podcast Profiling Evil, Mike King, is with us, and still with us, Georgia criminal defense attorney John Luke Weaver. All right, Mike, a lot of confidence, I sense. Do you think they have the evidence to back this up? And it's a different kind of case, right? Because it's not a stranger. So if her DNA is in the home, her DNA is in the home.
Yeah, Vinny, I think that's going to be a challenge. But if law enforcement was able to collect evidence on site that would link Sarah to the crimes, that's going to be incredibly valuable. And go forward and say we're going to do we're going to charge this girl as an adult, and to say we have mountains of evidence makes me think that they may have things. I mean,
did she have access to guns?
No idea. But where do they live? Middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
This is, yeah, she probably did. That's why you don't keep guns.
And if they found her fingerprints on a weapon, like they would have arrested her sooner. They can run those really quick.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of circumstantial, like made up stuff.
I think they're just going to try to slut shame her into guilt.
Yeah. I don't know for sure what type of weapon was used in this homicide or these homicides, whether it was a semi-automatic weapon that possibly could have discharged casings that were laying on the ground that might have a fingerprint on them or DNA from the person who loaded that weapon and fired it, or if it was a revolver and those were retained in the weapon and disappeared. We don't know if the weapon belonged to the father or the home or it originated somewhere else, but there undoubtedly are digital trails of a lot of things that we're not aware of. And there's also forensic evidence that we're not aware of. We don't know if there were tests like gunshot residue on Sarah's hands, or if there was any kind of blowback debris from the wounds that these two people suffered, and did that end up in clothing that was later collected that would tie her back to the actual scene versus what she was wearing when law enforcement arrived. Those kinds of things are the pieces of evidence, physical evidence, forensic.
And these, I got to be honest, these photos are so typical of a teenager. I can't believe that they're trying to make them seem like photos to slut shame her with.
Yeah, I agree.
They're so typical.
Forensic evidence that I think are going to really play out on this, not to mention the incredible boatload of digital evidence that must be available. We don't know if there were things that were on her mobile devices that
you don't know anything,
arrested
dude.
the teenage daughter whose freckle-faced mugshot went viral. Here's the story. In Carroll County, Georgia, a quiet rural home became a crime scene that stunned even seasoned investigators. Sarah Grace Patrick, just 17 years old, stands accused of killing her mother, Kristen Brock, and stepfather, James Brock. Their bodies found shot to death in bed by her 6-year-old sister. Moments later, Sarah Grace called 911. Detectives say her story didn't add up. Digital trail, social media posts, and private messages allegedly pointed back to her. After months of investigation, she surrendered to police and now faces murder charges as an adult. Prosecutors call her manipulative and dangerous, while supporters describe a faithful, broken teenager incapable of such violence.
With no bond and a trial looming, the mystery deepens. What drove a beloved church-going girl?
No bond?
No.
What?
Yeah, this is crazy.
Be at the
This is insane.
Yeah, this is crazy.
center of an unthinkable crime. Was it premeditation or an alleged moment of chaos that destroyed a family and left a community grasping for answers?
Notice how he said that too.
So when we talk about family in this,
Said what?
He was like, was it premeditated or a moment of chaos? In no place, there's no room in that statement for, or she didn't do it.
Well, I think that's what he might have meant by moment of, oh, yeah, that's true.
That's Vinny. Vin's always like, he's super prosecutor. He just takes the side of whatever the prosecution and the police say, and that's all of a sudden the facts of the story. And you would think if they had hard evidence.
You're right. He should have said, or an attacker came into the home.
Yeah. Because
I remember hearing that like her parents like sold weed or something like that.
Oh, weird.
case, it's another situation where we're talking about a blended family, right? Because Sarah's mom and dad no longer together. Mom gets remarried. And that's one of the victims in the case is the stepfather and her mother living in that house. Now, the way things are sort of breaking down, when we hear from people from the stepfather's side of the family, they believe that Sarah Grace is responsible for this. And then you go on the other side of the family, it's not as clear, and a lot of people are questioning whether or not she did this. And so she has supporters. So let's hear some of the various people who are supporting her, family and family friends, starting with her father, Daniel Patrick, who spoke with Newsweek.
I know 100% in my heart that Sarah's innocent. She's a typical 17-year-old that, lived like a teenager, and she would never do this. As a father, this has been one of the most hurtful things in my life. I'm sorry, but it's just hard.
There was nothing, DJ, her father he's a good person, and he and Kristen got along very well. They had their disagreements, but they had been divorced for so long that they got along quite well, and they were cooperative, and Sarah would go visit him at times. They had their disagreements, just like any teenage daughter would have with a mother. But Sarah was a good kid. I mean, she really was. I'm just in total shock. I mean, because she, first of all, the length of time that's passed, and the fact that they arrested her without any evidence that I know of. Everything seems circumstantial. And
if he knows everything that we know, there is no evidence.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like.
If it comes out that she was texting some guy, I want to do this, or will you do this, or is it done after that happened? I would question it, but that's not, wouldn't that be out there?
Yeah, and I feel like if they had that kind of evidence, wouldn't they have just arrested her really quickly? It seems like they just kind of like exhausted all their resources and then decided, well, no, it's the daughter.
I think they were just desperate to arrest someone and to try, because the case was open for months. A lot of investigation. I know they tried hard to find the murder weapon. They tried hard to find who was involved. They investigated a lot of people. You take a 100-pound girl and you hand her a 9mm pistol and you ask her to fire it, who doesn't have a lot of, I don't know if Sarah had ever shot a gun before. She was here, and whenever we shot guns, they were rifles. I never saw her shoot a pistol, but I just can't imagine, the accuracy that gun had in her hand.
Whose gun is it?
I'm assuming it's the parents' gun.
I don't think it could happen.
As our relationship grew, she began to open up to me about her past and experiences with Kristen and James. One thing she said that has always stayed with me was, no matter what they've done, I will always forgive them and love them, because deep down, I know that's not who they truly are. The statement showed the depth of Sarah's heart.
My name is Ben Bonner, and I serve as lead pastor at Catalyst Church in Carrollton, Georgia. She has continued to attend services regularly. She and her family often travel over an hour just to be with us.
This brings us to the next question in our investigation. Is Sarah Patrick capable of double murder? And you can have the words cold-blooded there, right? Someone's sleeping. That's cold-blooded double murder. Still with me, True Crime.
You're just saying no?
Yeah. I don't think she is. I bet Tony thinks she is.
Accused double killer.
Yeah, I think that, any attempt by the state to use evidence like that really reflects on probably weaknesses in their case, right? When we see prosecutors try to turn it into a character battle where they just want to smear this person and make the jury not like them, that's really a risky strategy for the state, because if you look towards appeal or something like that, the appellate courts can look harshly on the state for trying to.
It is so disgusting that they will take something to trial like this when they have no evidence.
Yep, I agree.
If they have it, great. If they don't, it's too bad. Like, you can't just, just do this.
If her life was not already bad enough, considering what happened to her parents, now you're going to drag her name through the mud. Now you got Vinnie Politan essentially already referring to her as like a criminal, as a murderer. She has to live the rest of her life with all this baggage. This is terrible.
Introduce that type of character evidence. So a lot of times, if the state has a very strong case, as they claim to have in the press, at least we haven't really seen it yet, as far as I've seen, that is telling to me as far as maybe the strength of their case. So, hey, they're taking this position where we're just going to try to make the jury just not like her and make her look like some sort of bad person because she's a teenager who's done, smoked some pot and has done whatever else that, frankly, is not relevant whatsoever to whether she committed murder or not. Now, if they've got some smoking gun that ties the drug...
Those are all normal teenage things, and they're not modern things. Those are things that we were doing like over 20 years ago,
People were doing them in the 60s and 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Use or something into a motive, then I see that coming in. I see it being appropriate. But unless they have that, unless they can link that back up, I don't see a way where that is, what we would call probative, right? That it makes something that matters more likely to be true or not in the trial.
All right. Ryan's going to stick around. Tony Bruschi, great job tonight, as always. Thank you so much. Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Check it out, folks. Coming up next, why is the defense using a neuropsychologist in this case?
I'm going to ask you a lot of intensely personal questions. From the crime scene. He was. I mean, I'm her grandfather. She and I were very close. And she was a wonderful little girl.
Sarah Patrick, her grandfather is convinced. And his daughter is the victim in all this, one of the two victims. So his opinion does have some meaning here. Take a look. In a recent hearing, Sarah Patrick in court, the defense said that they are waiting on a report from a neuropsychologist that they hired. A neuropsychologist. That person did a mental evaluation of Sarah over multiple visits. Prosecutor said the results could lead them to get their own evaluation. And this is the one thing that could delay the trial from beginning right at the start of the new year. Take a listen to the judge and the attorneys talking about it.
On August 19th, our office was rendered the services of Dr. Robert Shakes, who is a forensic neurologist, neuropsychologist, to evaluate Ms. Patrick. All in all, he's completed the evaluation, but he has not given me a formal written report.
Then we'll set it down for the case is set for January 5th, and we'll proceed on schedule.
This is interesting. In a lot of the cases that we cover, when a psych comes in, I hear forensic psychiatrist coming in. But here, it's a different type of expert, I think. And that brings us to the final question this hour. Why is the defense using a neuropsychologist in this case? Neuropsychologist. Joining me, psychotherapist and founder of the Renew Center of Florida and Renew Me, Dr. Lisa Palmer is with us, and still with us, Georgia criminal defense attorney Ryan Brown. Great to have you both with us right now. All right, Dr. Palmer, let me ask you first, neuropsychologist. What does that mean? Is that a different type of expertise here?
Well, in the context of a legal case, it'd be very similar to a biopsychosocial, but when they're evaluating the defendant, they're going to be looking at, all aspects and how it relates specifically legally. And a lot of times when they're doing these kind of evaluations, it's a bit more scientific. And so based on that, they're going to be seeing, what was the intent of the defendant? What it was the, cognitive abilities of the defendant, and how did it affect insight and judgment? And that is going to ultimately affect the turnout of the case. So it is really, really important in this case.
All right, Ryan Brown, what are your thoughts here about the defense getting this neuropsychologist as an expert? What does it tell you? Why are they doing this?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One, this court, and I practice in this court all the time. This is in my backyard. This judge particularly is going to keep a tight schedule. So the defense definitely had to get ahead of things. And, this is honestly on the quicker end of how quickly you would have an expert in a case probably being able to evaluate someone. But when we're dealing with someone at this age, and where there is at least some hints that there may be evidence of some sort of traumatic, or at least a couple, if not more, traumatic events in the past, whether it be witnessing any domestic issues or things that she's been through, we're looking at someone whose age, the brain is not completely developed. We may be trying to evaluate from the defense standpoint how someone of her age would react to certain scenarios, how a 17-year-old's brain may process and react differently to someone who's 37 or 47 or even 27, right? Especially when we start talking about the social media stuff. That's been something that both the law enforcement and the court of public opinion has been really focused on is, hey, this is, why is she acting this way? Why does she behave this way, right?
Behave what way? She's behaving normally that I've seen.
That is something that an expert can come talk about, right? Is, hey, this is the brain of a 17-year-old. Are they responding how they should respond? Who gets to decide whether someone's TikTok or Instagram is an appropriate response, right? So there's kind of two ways the defense could be going. Is it, hey, we need to focus on the things that were happening online immediately afterwards and whether they were appropriate or not? Do they tend to make it more true that maybe she did this? Or is it, hey, how she responded to things that have happened in the past to her, and could it have made it more or less likely that this case happened, that she did this?
Dr. Palmer, how does this evaluation go? How do you get the information?
Right. So one of the things is scanning documents and looking at documents that are out there. So they're going to be talking to different officials. They're going to be looking at her history, everything from, her medical and health history to what's happened in school, to interviews with family members and friends and people who may have known her, to see if she's had some kind of a history, if there's a documentation of previous records of incidences. They're going to be looking at all of that, and they're going to be doing neurological testing as well, and also seeing if she has a previous mental health history. So if she had ever been to counseling or had ever had issues regarding mood instability or substance abuse or a variety of factors like trauma and how trauma can affect somebody, and if there's any dissociation there, if she's had any instances of that, what her emotional regulation is, what's her memory, and how all of these factors will play a part in sort of the design of this person mentally. And then that's going to help to paint a picture as you're gathering the evidence of what she said or didn't do in the eulogy and online and whatnot. It will paint a better picture of what's going on.
More of an explanation. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not necessarily going to be an admission that she did it. It can be explaining some of the surrounding behavior. Great job tonight, Dr. Lisa Palmer. Great to have you here. Ryan Brown, thank you so much. This trial.
All right.
I don't like that. I don't like where that's headed.
I don't like where this is headed either. We're definitely going to watch this trial, though.
Yeah, but that's terrible. That poor girl. Like, I haven't seen anything that would suggest she killed her parents, and the fact that Vin and the prosecution are just going to jump to that conclusion with no evidence is crazy to me.
It's insane.
It's just
wow.
Crazy.
Well, that's all I have for you tonight to talk about. Do you want to show us the exit?
I will. Thank you again for a lovely date night.
Yeah.